Who are we talking to?
Ourselves! Welcome back to the Mc&Marren podcast, which we are continuing our reviews of nostalgic Halloween movies. This week we will be talking about The Little Vampire, the 2000 film starring Jonathan Lipnicki. Basically, the plot of the film is Jonathan Lipnicki is Tony Thompson. Hey,
there's actually a joke about that.
At least I got a T in there. About Tony Thompson, who moves across the pond to Scotland, of all places, where his dad is developing a golf course for a wealthy Scottish lord.
Like you do.
And he comes across a group of vampires. Again, like you
do.
do. And he must find a way to help them and evade a vampire hunter named Rookery.
Yes. So I remember when this movie came out, and it was, kind of like one of those must-see movies of the year that it came out. I remember watching it, going over to friends' houses to watch it. I didn't have a copy of it. I wanted a copy of this movie, but I didn't have one. Also, it's Jonathan Lipnicki.
Isn't that what I said?
You said Lipnicki.
Oh, well, whatever.
It's Lip, however you spell the rest of his last name.
Everyone got the gist.
Okay. Anywho, so yes, this takes place in Scotland. They are not very specific as to where in Scotland it takes place. However, most of the buildings and castles featured in the film are found around Edinburgh.
Yes. Now, I actually did not see this movie in theaters. It was just one of the random VHS tapes we had growing up, and for some reason we just put it on, and me and my younger sisters were kind of obsessed with it for a little while.
I mean, it was a fun, family-friendly take on the vampire story, because what made it special was that these vampires were not trying to hurt humans. They were trying to become human.
Yeah, so the plot of the story is essentially this group of vampires, about 400 years ago?
Give or take.
Somewhere around there.
Give or take.
Are using the Stone of Atmar.
Atamon.
Whatever. To invoke a magical spell in order to become human, but was stopped by Rookery's ancestor. And then now in the modern day, they're still trying to find the stone and continue their mission to become human.
You're so close to the plot. So what it is actually, they detail that the Stone of Atamon is a piece of the comet that fell to Earth, and thus began the curse of the vampire.
I was just going to be the basic gist of the plot.
Okay, I'm just saying. The Stone of Atamon interacting with the comet is a very big plot point of the film. That's pretty much the whole plot point.
Another big plot point is the fact that the main character, Tony, is getting nightmares about the comet and the amulet. And as soon as the vampires find out that, this mortal can actually be helpful...
Spoilers!
They want to use his weird connection to the comet to find the missing whatever it's called.
Yes. So the way that Tony gets embroiled in cahoots with these vampires is he is playing pretend in his room, pretending to be a vampire, like you do, when one of the vampires, the little vampire, Rudolph, I was getting to his name, sees him through the window and thinks he's an actual vampire and goes to talk to him, and then he realizes, that's not a vampire, that's just a human. But because he just got out of a fight, he's too weak to safely leave.
Yes, his name, the character's full name is Rudolph Sackville Bagg.
Not to be confused with the Sackville Bagginses of Bag End. This is not a Tolkien story. However, the fact that, they stuck that in, and here I am at the ripe age of my early 30s, and it's the first time I realized it.
And he is played by Rollo Weeks in the film. But yeah. And then Tony befriends Rudolph and meets his family. Frederick's Sackville Bag, which is the dad, who is played by Richard E. Grant. Anna Popewell, who plays Rudolph's younger sister, Anna, who some of you might remember. Anna Popewell is actually Susan from the live-action Chronicles of Narnia films that Disney produced.
In this one, they make her a blonde. She does not look good as a blonde.
And then Rudolph and Anna's older brother, Gregory, played by Dean Cook, as well as their mom, Frida, played by Alice Craig.
Okay. Another big name in this is the guy who played Rookery.
He is
Jim
Carter.
Jim Carter. Most people will know him from his time on Downton Abbey, but this was before the Downton Abbey days. So we've kind of given a synopsis. So let's go through and talk about favorite moments, key moments, moments that make us LOL, and what makes this movie a great family-friendly Halloween film.
So the one that I immediately comes to mind is when Rudolph and Tony are interacting in his room, and because the sun's about to come up, Rudolph needs a place to hide in his room. So Tony starts opening and emptying his toy chest. He finds a Nintendo Game Boy, and the movie becomes a Nintendo plug for a couple minutes. Rudolph comes out and he's like, "I've seen mortals play this game. What is it?" And Tony goes, "Nintendo, duh." Nintendo.
Can I play this Nintendo, duh?
That's not how you use duh, dude. So yeah, that's actually one of I just find it funny because I grew up playing the Game Boy. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, so that was just kind of like, hey, Nintendo Butterfly's been here for a couple minutes.
I think for me, one of my favorite parts, there's a lot of favorite parts, but I think one of my favorite parts, or at least one of the most influential parts, is so Anna develops a little crush on Tony.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go so far as to say it's more than a little crush. Anywho, she basically tells Tony, if you ever need me, just call for me. And she's like, all you have to do is whistle. And there's this very sweet moment where she's basically teaching him how to whistle. And I would love to see a graph chart of how many 90s kids knew how to whistle before this movie versus how many knew how to whistle after this movie. And when I say 90s kids, I mean kids who were born in the 90s.
Because this movie did come out in 2000.
Yeah. So kids who were born in the 90s, not kids who were like older kids who probably should have born, but like younger 90s kids. How many of us learned how to whistle from this movie? But I really liked it because also the whistle they used in the audio for the movie is obviously not her actual whistle, but it's very screeching. It can be heard over vast amounts of sound waves, and it's almost harkens to the Legend of the Banshee. That call that you can hear. But that was my favorite. Colin, what about you?
Okay, so we're diving a bit into spoiler territory here.
We've already gone spoilers!
We haven't already.
So, Rookery finds where the vampires are sleeping. Where the vampires have made their
nest.
Their lair.
Nest, wherever. He has a helper with him.
Oh yeah, that guy.
The helper, the helper tries to kill the family with some bright light that's supposed to be as bright as the sun. But Gregory breaks it and also bites the helper, who then Rookery puts away as a victim, like you do. And then he wakes up. He's a full vampire.
Yeah, so Rookery kind of tricked him into doing that because he needed proof to Lord Medashian, who is the guy that's employed Tony's father to build him the golf course. He interrupts like a board meeting. He's like, you have a vampire infestation on your grounds. I can get rid of them for you for a fee. And Lord Medashian is like, fee? What about fee? I'm not paying you a fee. So he brings the helper dude after he's bitten for proof in order to get his payment.
Yeah. I would also say another funny part is that after Gregory bites a human, for the rest of the movie, he is given the Hannibal Lecter treatment by his family. They have him in a muzzle and a straitjacket for the rest of the film.
Yeah.
Because he bit someone.
He can't be trusted.
It's like
He's a
we don't bite humans.
It's a family of vampires, and he gets put in a muzzle.
Which is ridiculous considering the amount of times the father threatens to eat Tony for dinner.
Okay, but like, how many times does a dad threaten to do something in a movie and not actually do it? I mean, it's quite a common thing. Also, the fact that he threatens it, and then the wife, she comes up and she's all very like, now, sweetie, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm sure the boys had a good reason for doing this. But if you must kill him, I never said I would kill him. Mm-hmm. That's literally what the dad does. He's ready to kill him, and then the mom's like, no. Let's talk this out. Oh, but you know what? Let's not. You can do it. And he's like, I didn't say I was gonna do that.
Yeah. The dad and the mom, the vampires, are pretty good characters in the film, as well as Tony's mother and father.
They are. Go ahead.
They did one little funny scene where Tony is trapped in this tomb by Rookery, and so after Rookery finds the lair, the original lair, Tony hides the family of vampires in his basement.
Like you do.
That's going to be the overall quote of this episode, isn't it? And he's trapped in this tomb by Rookery, so he whistles for Anna and Rudolph, but because it's daylight, they have to protect themselves, so they're wearing the suit of armor. And they just had laying around the house.
It's
a
castle.
Scottish castle.
Yeah, they're living in a Scottish castle.
So they run off, and the dad thinks that it's Tony and Rudolph playing, so he just lets them go. And he talks to the mom. He's like, which means we have the afternoon alone. And the dad's just like, I like this kid already.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Moments that were disappointing, or things about this film that are disappointing to us. So I'm going to start because I came up with this question and I know what disappointed me. So, the whole thing is centered around the dad and them. The only reason they're in Scotland is because they're building a golf course for Lord McAshton.
Yes.
Okay. McAshton is actually not a real Scottish clan. That bothers me. And you're going to be like, why does that bother you? That shouldn't bother you. Because if Disney can actually do their homework for Brave, which they did, and include real Scottish clan names, then they should be able to do it. Everybody should be able to do it for every movie. You shouldn't need to make up a fictional Scottish clan. There are hundreds of them. Literally, pick one.
Heck, the McDuck clan has their own.
Yeah, Scrooge McDuck has his own tartan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why are we making up Scottish clans that don't exist?
Because they couldn't afford that one.
I guess, but I mean, and in case you're like, well, why is she so passionate about Scottish clans and all this stuff? Once again, our podcast name is Mc&Marren. The Mac stands for Macintosh. Shout out, Lord Macintosh, Brave. If you know, you know. We'll have to have a conversation about that at a later time.
Yep.
Anywho, I would say that's like the one thing about the movie that just makes me go, meh.
I guess one thing that was also disappointing to me was just like, I read Dracula, I've seen several other vampire movies. A lot of the vampire lore is from more Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, why are they in Scotland? Why are they here? But they don't really go into any of the vampires' backstory except for how they get the stone and everything, and that's essentially about it. They don't really go into, the Rudolph and his family's history. They don't go off into any like how they got to Scotland. It's just like the vampires are just in Scotland. Okay, that's a thing. Sure.
Colin?
So I'm going to mention one thing real quick, is that this movie is actually based off of a children's book series of the same name by a German author whose name escapes me at the moment, but I'll pull them up later. But my big the thing that struck me as odd with the movie is when you really get down to it, we don't have a lot of the vampires.
No.
A lot of the time is focused during the day with the human main character because, they're the main character.
It's his story.
But it's also called The Little Vampire. And I don't know, I just feel like we spend way too much time in the daytime.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just like there's definitely a lot of like the kid movie tropes in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Obviously Nintendo does a big product placement. The Rudolph and his family learning about the more modern language, like duh. And then of course you have to have a kids movie where there's cow poop.
Not just cow poop, but the
vampire cows
are funny. I mean, also the fact that this came out in 2000s. I think anyone who's ever seen the original Twister can definitely say that one of the funniest lines in their first Twister movie was, "We got cows."
Yep.
Okay, Little Vampire, they got cows.
Vampire
cows.
Because the vampires have to eat, and they can't eat the humans.
Which raises a great point of the movie that they do not answer.
How many vampire animals are wandering the world?
Okay, that raises two good questions that are not answered.
Getting snacked.
Number one, how many vampire animals are there in the world? But number two, and the one that came to my mind is, what do the vampire cows eat? Because we don't see them eat
anything.
Yeah. What are the vampire cows eating?
Although the vampire cows do lead to some of the film's funny bits because the first night Tony takes Rudolph to this farm to drink blood from a cow, and during the daytime the farmer lets the cows out and he realizes like one's missing.
This is the vampire equivalent of being vegetarian.
So he's like, one's missing. One is the cow that Rudolph bit is still in the barn, and she won't come out. And then you see the red glowing eyes, and she's now a vampire cow. And then later on, the family feeds on generally feeds on these cows. And then every morning, the farmer goes out, lets the cows out, and there's like there's
fewer and fewer cows. 1,
2, 3, and it's just like, and then when there's no cows on the field, he runs out in the barn, and the cows are hanging upside down. And he's like, "Sweet mother in heaven!" He's just like, "Oh, okay, nope, not dealing with that."
But also, spoiler alert, because it's a kids movie and this is a happy, wholesome Halloween story, you can take some leave and assume that they win, the good guys win, the vampires get to become human, it's a happy, wholesome reunion, but more importantly, the cows return to normal.
Yes.
So the cows don't stay vampire cows. Maybe that's why we didn't have to answer the question of what do the vampire cows eat.
Yeah. So
because they turn back to normal.
Well, obviously the one vampire cow started eating on the other cows.
And that's a lot of vampiric lore to get into.
That's a lot of cannibalism over there.
We don't have time to get into all of that.
But like Tori said, though, spoiler for the ending, they all get transformed to humans, and there's actually kind of a bit of a happy ending there at the end, because Rudolph and his family are transformed to humans, and you actually get to see them in their human form as they're moving in next door to Tony and his family.
Now, don't get us wrong, this is not an immediate happy ending. They do that nice little knife twist of sadness where we see them just kind of
don't remember
poof into nothing. They go away when they do the wish to become human, and then they all disappear, and then Tony's just kind of stuck there, standing there, and he's like, all my friends are gone. I've lost all my friends. And so then he's all sad because he lost his friends. But then, 2 days later, haha, there they are. But, we just got to do that nice little knife twist of you did the right thing, but you're going to feel bad about it because now you're alone.
Yep.
So the German writer is Angela Sommer Bodenberg.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Sommer Bodenberg.
Okay.
Either way.
We are sorry for the mispronunciation. We're sorry in general every time we have to pronounce a name that we don't know how to pronounce because foreign languages is none of our fortes. So,
No.
if anybody who we ever talk about in one of these podcasts gets upset, please reach out and tell us how to say your name correctly because we would really appreciate it.
Yeah. Now I will say I actually also, like I said, I don't remember seeing this in theaters. I remember watching it on a VHS tape, but also back when the Disney Channel was good, by the way, and we didn't have this, Disney Plus nonsense.
Early 2000s.
Back in my day.
Okay, Grandpa, tell us about the days of VHS.
No. Because this was, I don't even know if you remember this was not just back in the day of Disney being, like Disney Channel being good. This was back in the days of Zoog. Do you remember Zoog? I
do.
Yeah, this was the true people who remember that will be, yeah.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. That was Disney's millennial experiment that just
it bombed.
They went so hard into the Y2K that I don't think we ever recovered.
But
we had a great website.
That is true. My point being, though, is that despite it not being a Disney film, we actually did watch it on the Disney Channel around Halloween.
I think that's because wasn't it made by like one of Disney's like sister or like one of the companies that Disney owns, but Disney doesn't say outright that they own.
I think it's.
See.
It's probably.
It's distributed by. Let me see.
Hold while we do research that we should have done before the episode recording.
It's probably just a Brave Little Toaster thing where they have the rights to distribute it.
Yeah.
It's distributed by New Line Cinema in the United States. It was distributed by Warner Brothers in Germany.
So New Line Cinema, who owns that?
I'm pretty sure it's its own. It's a subsidiary of Warner Brothers.
Weird.
So a Warner Brothers film is played on a Disney Channel.
Wow.
Wrap your head around that.
So this is just one of those things where, Disney and Warner Brothers had an agreement.
Yeah. I mean,
interesting.
It's not the first time they had an agreement, but it's probably one of the last.
It doesn't happen a lot, though.
It's probably one of the last times they ever had an agreement.
Stay tuned for a future podcast episode about that.
Yep.
But yeah, it was on Disney Channel, which I think is why a lot of people thought it was a Disney movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that also explains why it's not on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
However, if you are looking for a way to watch this movie this Halloween season, it is available with ads on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Because we looked for it on HBO Max, which is Warner Brothers' own streaming service, and it's not there.
Didn't have it.
Nope.
How rude.
Yeah. So
they also don't have Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, so once again, how rude.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, you kind of need to get on that.
It's like, Warner Brothers, if you own it, show it.
Yeah, because we have enough issues with Disney Plus not having all their content on their House of Mouse. So Warner Brothers, you kind of need to, be better than Disney Plus and kind of get all your content on that streaming service there.
Just the one. Just that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So... I do also want to mention that being a kids movie, of course, there's bullies, and there are two boys, actually Lord Madashton's grandkids, who bully Tony, and one of them is actually played by who would eventually be Fritz from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And he is actually the worst of the two bullies. So if you were a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's a little sad for you.
Well, to be fair, though, he was only like 9 years old.
He does. Tony does have a great revenge on the bullies because he's best friends with a vampire.
Yes.
So have your best friend break into their bedroom and scare them to death. So
Tony meets Rudolph's family, and after he gets scared by Rudolph's father.
Yeah.
He's like, you don't know, Rudolph's like, you don't know what it's like for us vampires to be persecuted. And he's like, oh yeah, I do. It happens to me every day at school. And Rudolph's like, who dares hurt my friend?
No, I just like the introduction he gives himself. I am the fiendish friend of Tony Thompson. It's like, that is a lot of consonants in one take.
Yeah.
Especially for them at the time, being child actors. I mean, for Richard E. Grant and the actors who were playing the adults, they could add, they could have as many complex lines as they need, because I feel like it goes with the territory of being an adult actor. But for a child actor to have very complex lines, it's always very impressive when they're done correctly. I mean, especially with also the fact that I don't think, well, actually, none of the vampires really have an accent except for Richard E. Grant, but that's his normal voice.
Yeah.
That's his normal voice. But yeah, none of the vampires and none of the kids had Scottish accents, so it really wasn't that hard. Well, except for the two who actually are Scottish.
Yeah, but I actually just looked it up. Rollo Beach, the guy who played Rudolph, was only 13 when he did this movie.
I mean, it's impressive for a 13-year-old to do that.
Good work.
Yeah.
It's very very good. And how old was Jonathan Lipnicki when he did this? I mean, was it before or after Stuart Little?
He was only 10 when he did this.
So about the same time as Stuart Little.
I think it was before Stuart Little.
Yeah.
Because I think Stuart Little came. Let's see.
More research time.
Oh no, you're right. It was actually after Stuart Little, because Stuart Little came out in '99 and Little Vampire came out in 2000.
So he filmed them back to back.
Yeah.
Like literally filmed Stuart Little, then turned around and filmed Little Vampire.
What did you do today?
2 movies back to back with the word little.
What did you do today?
True.
Oh,
Talk to a mouse.
Interacted with mouse. What's the plan for tomorrow? Vampires.
But there is a mouse in Little Vampire, because remember we talked about Anna has a little crush.
That is a rat.
That is a mouse.
It is a mouse.
It's a mouse.
Okay.
Rats are a lot bigger than that.
Anywho, context. Anna, when she has her little, heart-to-heart moment with him and she teaches him how to whistle, she gives him a present to keep him safe of a petrified mouse from the old country. It will keep you safe. Now, why that's actually very telling is that later, when they hit a dead end and they're kind of stuck, what comes along to help us?
A mouse.
A mouse! The mouse will protect you. And this is not a Disney film? The mouse will protect you, and it's not a Disney film.
Missed opportunity.
Mickey's just like, I must have a mouse in it.
I said, I am going to mention this because it is also on YouTube. So if you're looking for this one specifically on YouTube, there is another Little Vampire also on YouTube that came out 17 years later. It is an animated adaptation of the movie, but they do change quite a few things. Like, in the animated version, they're not trying to be human. They're just getting together because it's Rudolph's birthday. And they're just trying to survive the vampire exterminator.
Also, speaking of the vampire exterminator, like, one thing that was kind of disappointing in is, like, Rookery chases down Tony several times, and he, throughout the entire film, thinks he's a vampire. Right? However, like, anytime he, like, flashes a light at him, it doesn't do anything. He's out in the daylight, doesn't do anything. It's just like, and you're convinced this guy's a vampire? Why?
Because he hangs out in graveyards.
But nothing that affects a vampire affects him, but yet you still think he's a vampire?
Well, he doesn't like bright lights.
We didn't say that Rookery was smart.
Clearly he's not. Oh, by the way, Rookery's design, he's very much like a cigar-smoking, trench coat-wearing guy. Very much inspired by Hugh Jackman's role as Wolverine in the X-Men.
It is very similar, I will say. It's very similar.
Actually, speaking of the design, I will say, at least for the vampires, the costumes are actually very
gorgeous.
They're very ornate. They're very well done. They are very reminiscent of, like, an old-school Dracula.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want Anna's dress when I was a kid.
I wanted the dad's cape.
I mean, these were not like small costume budget outfits. They spent the money on the costume budget.
They probably spent all the money not only on the location but the costumes, and they were like, okay, we kind of don't have any more money.
But all the special effects were actually pretty good for the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the flying, pretty good. I would say holds up to some movies of today.
And we'll say, like, when they get the stone and they're disappearing, the disappearing effect actually turns out pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean the flying cows.
Mm-hmm.
I will argue, and feel free to come at me in the comments, that the flying cows are better CGI than half of what Disney's been putting out for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it kind of seems like
Lion King.
It kind of seems like in terms of CGI, we've kind of taken a step backwards. Because, I mean, look at Davy Jones in the second Pirates.
And then we just been downhill ever since.
So I would say that the effects really held up. The locations were beautiful. The costumes were on point. The dialogue was
hokey.
It was 90s humor, okay? Yes, it came out in the 2000s, but it was filmed in the 90s. It was written in the 90s. It's 90s humor. I mean, it's a little hokey, but it's family-friendly fun. And, it does a good job of reminding parents to stop always working and take a break and maybe play a round of golf with your son and make sure that your son is not hanging out with vampires.
No, actually, I will say that, so we've talked about several Halloween movies so far. We've talked about the Halloween Town series.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about Scary Godmother. We talked about Scooby-Doo and the Ghoul School, and now we're talking about Little Vampire. We seem to have a theme where the overall message of the movie is that just because someone looks monstrous doesn't mean they are actually a monster.
This is very true. And I think that's a good theme, that monsters aren't always what they appear to be, because it's a good lesson in life to learn that just because somebody looks scary doesn't mean they are scary.
Yeah. And
also that the monsters we encounter in life are very rarely what we think they're going to be. I mean, let's just take a brief moment, look through some of the movies that we've looked at and some of the things in our childhood that we had to deal with. I mean, I think we can all agree, quicksand is not as big of an issue as we thought it was going to be.
No.
Okay, but quicksand in your life and in work where one thing goes wrong and then another and then another and then another and then another. And yes, I am referencing the movie The Replacements with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves. But that's more real. That form of quicksand. We don't see the, witch who puts a spell on everybody and hates children, but we've all met an office Karen. We've all met them. We don't always see the giant Frankenstein monster who just looks terrifyingly scary. But you know what? How many super scary looking guys have you actually met in your life? And they actually turn out to be really nice people.
I mean, often the biggest guys are just basically a teddy bear.
This is so true.
Why did my mind immediately think of Home Alone?
That's enough. Maybe we'll discuss that one at Christmas.
Yeah. A family-friendly movie involving
forgetting your child at home.
Yes.
Not once, not twice.
5, 6.
There's six of them.
Movies.
Okay, to be fair, the first two are the same kid. The rest are all different kids.
Yes.
So it's not so bad that this one family forgot this guy 6 times. They only forgot him twice. Still bad.
However, I do think that, for the most part, we did pick some really good life lesson learning movies for our first ever Halloween movies that are family friendly.
Yeah, I think
so.
So.
Next week is the week of Halloween.
Dun, dun, dun.
Da, da, da. And so what movie have we saved for that week? My favorite Halloween movie, which is the 1986 made-for-TV movie version of The Worst Witch. This is the one with Tim Curry. I am not willing to negotiate on watching any of the other ones. This is the only one. This is where it ends.
I mean, you got the words Tim Curry.
Yeah.
That's essentially.
I don't need another version.
Yeah, you're good. And shout out to Tim Curry. I highly doubt he'll ever listen to this, but Tim, we hope that he actually is making a big comeback to the movie work after his stroke. We hope that he continues working and that he continues to do well.
Yeah. But in the meantime, do we have anything else to cover today?
No, I don't think so.
Also, just going to point out, vampires featured in every single one of the stories so far.
Yeah, you're right. Well, more so in Scary Godmother, The Rule School, in this one, whereas Halloween Town,
we have to get Tooth of a Vampire or Fang of a Vampire.
But it's like that's more of like a cameo more than anything else.
Yeah,
still there though.
That is true.
Okay, well, hate to do this, but there are no vampires in The Worst Witch. But you know what there is? But you know what there is?
Tim Curry.
Yeah.
And a cake.
Yeah.
Who sings?
Yeah.
He can be the honorary
I was gonna go with a black cat.
But she gets a tabby cat and names it Blackie, right?
Yeah, yes. But everyone, okay. Spoilers for next week. All right. Well, until then, we hope that you are enjoying the Mc&Marren podcast. Please. Hopefully, I will learn to speak between now and next week. Please feel free to subscribe, comment, like, share with your friends, send us comments, send us a carrier pigeon. We don't care. We'd love to hear from you if you're listening to this, but if you're not listening to it, hey, I'm just talking to myself.
Warning, the carrier pigeons might get eaten by the cats.
Possibly. But we hope to see you next week for our Halloween episode, our last Halloween episode of the month of October. And thank you all for listening.
Bye.
Bye.